can make a decision that I deem would be appropriate. So I'm going to find you guilty. There's an affirmative finding of family violence. I give you credit for any time served. There's to be no contact with minors, and I'm going to sentence you to 45 years in the prison. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendants? State of Texas versus Katrina Rose Mendoza. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Brittany Mitchell and Allie Jackson for the state of Texas.
Defense?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Todd McCrae for Katrina Mendoza.
All right, we are here for sentencing. You entered a plea on August 7, 2023 to count 1, paragraph B of guilty. The state waived without objections count 1, paragraph A, counts 3, 2, 4, and 5. The court found there was sufficient evidence to find you guilty. However, the court deferred finding of guilt as you had applied for probation. According to the plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 45 years in the prison. There's an affirmative finding of family violence, and the state opposes your application for deferred adjudication. Have both parties had a chance to review the PSI report, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections to the PSI report, state?
No.
Defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. And the defense counsel did email to the court a report by Dr. Murphy. He included the state in that email as well. Neither party had any objections to the court reviewing that before sentencing. And as the court's understanding, both parties wanted to make sure that I had reviewed that. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right. So the court has reviewed the documents that you supplied, defense. State, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. We would call Cindy Loma Casares.
All right. If you'll come forward, please.
And Your Honor, we are going to invoke the rule.
All right. Defense, do you have witnesses in the room?
Yes, Mr. Beltran and Mr. Mendoza.
All right, Mr. Beltran and Mr. Mendoza, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't view anything about this case. Sorry, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you cannot review anything about this case. You can't watch witnesses' testimony. Do you understand? All right, do you understand, sir? All right, thank you.
When they testify, you'll have to go into the hallway.
Yeah. All right, so if you'll wait in the hallway. All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can lower your hand. Have a seat. Make sure you keep your voice up so that I can hear, court reporter can hear, and the attorneys can hear. State your name for the record.
Cindy Lima.
All right.
All right. Good afternoon, Ms. Lima. How are you presently employed?
I'm an investigative supervisor with Child Protective Services.
And how long have you been with Child Protective Services?
Going over 10 years.
Do you know an individual named Katrina Rose Mendoza?
Yes.
Do you see her in court today?
Yes.
Can you describe an article of clothing she's wearing?
She's wearing red and pink sandals.
Okay. How are you familiar with?
My first encounter with her was in 2018 when I investigated a case of abuse and neglect of her children.
You said her children. Who are her two children?
Mercedes and Jordan Losway.
And who was the subject of that, of the two children, who was the suspected child that was being abused?
Mercedes Losway.
And when you investigated that case, did you meet with the girls? Did you meet with Katrina?
I did.
How many times can you estimate that you met with them?
Maybe 7, 8 times.
Did you talk to Katrina about how to be a parent?
Yes.
Was that a brief conversation, or was this something at length that you had talked to her about?
Lengthy conversations several times, different days.
What about classes? Did Katrina have to complete any classes or anything with CPS?
Yes.
And what kind of classes did that include?
She was, during the 2018 case, she was referred for ongoing services with the department, meaning that she needed to go through parenting, drug treatment, drug assessments, and anything else that the department recommended at that time.
And to your knowledge, did she complete those trainings?
I believe she did.
At any time were Mercedes and Jordan removed from Katrina's custody?
Yes.
When was that?
Back in 2016.
And what was the reason for that?
Mercedes was deemed failure to thrive, and there was physical neglect in the home, and they were not able to care for the children.
And then you said you had the case in 2018, correct? Were there any other cases filed with CPS prior to 2022?
Yes.
How many?
6.
Were you involved in those cases in any capacity?
Yes.
How so?
I was involved in the last case prior to Mercedes passing.
When was the final case that was filed?
It was November 27, 2021.
And what, if anything, with that case?
There were different referrals that the department would receive. We were attempting to meet with the mother. I think that we met with mom a total of 4 times. Each time we were able to see the children and the mother. And we were trying to come up with some resolution on her case. We set up something that's called a family team meeting to be able to get her support network to see what was going on. There were several concerns during that case, in that we needed the family support to be present in order for us to know what to do next with her case.
In any of those meetings, did Katrina ever express that one or both of her girls were getting abused?
No,
Did the girls ever outcry?
no.
In general, what was the behavior of the girls when they were observed?
Just happy children, very bonded, nothing that we could have seen.
The name Jose ever come up? When was the last time that CPS was able to see the girls?
The last time that CPS saw the children was January 19 of 2022
And where were the girls supposed to be living?
at the homeowners. Homart was home, the government's
I'm sorry, just 1 second. Could you repeat that, please?
Walmart, Beltran's home.
And how is Homer Beltran related to Katrina and the girls?
He is the godparent to Katrina Mendoza.
And so Katrina and the girls were supposed to be living with him.
Correct.
When was, you said January 19th, 2022 was the last time the girls were seen. Were there any other dates that were planned at that time?
Yes.
What was that?
It was January 25th of 2022.
And why did the CPS did not see the girls that day?
Because that's when the mother and Mr. Beltran got into an altercation, and the mom left with the children from that residence.
At that time, did you have any specific concerns about the girls?
Yes.
What were those?
The family members began to speak and said that they had concerns with Katrina and her parenting, in the way that she treated her children.
Did you know where she went with the girls?
No.
Did you at any time learn about a boyfriend that Katrina had?
Yeah, it was that day that we learned about a boyfriend, and the only name given was Jose.
What attempts, if any, were there to find the girls?
We tried every address that we could possibly try. We tried any phone numbers that we had for Katrina, since she had changed different numbers throughout the case. We tried going to the schools to see if the children would show up at school. We did everything we could possibly do. We have something that's called UTC checklist, which we have to complete in order for us to obtain any CPS records, any rec sauce, anything from the community that can give us access to other addresses to find the children and the mother.
On January 25th, was there any communication from Katrina?
She had asked to reschedule the family team meeting to February 2nd, 2022.
And what happened on February 2nd?
Nobody showed up.
And what day was it that Mercedes passed?
It was February 7th, 2022.
Just briefly, you started investigating Ms. Lemus back in 2019 for what you described as neglect and failure to thrive. What would you define that?
Yeah, in 2016, there was an investigation that was deemed that the mother and the father were deemed neglectful for physical neglect of their own children.
And what did you discover was the neglect?
Mercedes was failure to thrive, meaning that she wasn't getting enough feedings and
Enough
she
what?
wasn't,
Excuse me.
she wasn't being fed and she wasn't getting enough nutrients on her body. So her body was not thriving.
Okay, was there any, you call that neglectful, failing to thrive, did you discover any physically assaultive type injuries at that time?
I didn't personally investigate that case.
Okay, well, I thought you first got involved in 2019.
2018,
I wrote down 2019. So, but what were you investigating in 2018?
it was a physical abuse case.
And what was the ultimate ruling in that case?
It was reason to believe, meaning guilty of physical abuse.
Was that the handprint case?
Correct.
Okay, and I think the court heard about that during the jury trial. And then moving forward, when was the next investigation?
The one that I was supervising was in 2021, November 27, 2021.
In 21, what were you investigating?
Physical abuse, concerns of physical abuse.
And what,
And
okay, and what was that?
we received difference with the way that Katrina would parent her children, and concerns that she was leaving bruises on the children.
You discovered some bruises.
There was a bruise found on Mercedes at the beginning of the case. The children were able to explain how that injury was obtained.
And what was the conclusion?
It was for abuse.
Okay. And then moving forward, the next investigation?
That was prior to the child death.
Okay, all right. And what were your concerns at that point in time?
We kept receiving concerns from different people with the same allegations, stating that the mother was being abusive to her children.
In what way?
That they would get spankings, marks on their bodies.
Did you see any marks?
No,
But you were investigating these concerns.
correct.
And then you've testified previously about the sequence of events and the scheduling that never took place because Ms. Mendoza never showed up. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And when you say you were doing everything you could to locate the children and Katrina Mendoza, you said you to addresses and you went to you made telephone calls. Did you go by Mr. Beltran's house?
Yes,
And is that when you discovered that she wasn't there with the children?
correct. We already had been, we've been talking to him, so he had told us that they had left that day on the 25th.
Right. And there was some kind of disagreement between them that precipitated her leaving.
Correct.
Okay. And you just testified that, in your opinion, when you observed the girls, Mercedes and Jordan, that they appeared to be happy, bonded children. Is that, again, a fair characterization?
That's what it shows in the pictures.
And was that your personal observation and conclusion?
I didn't personally see them this last time in 2021.
So you're referring to a report that reflects that they were happy, bonded children.
Correct.
And so something drastically went wrong towards the very end.
Correct.
I'll pass the witness.
Just briefly, would Katrina have had a way to get in touch with CPS during those 2 weeks before Mercedes died?
Yes.
Did the caseworker's number change at all?
No.
No further questions.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
I have a question if there are no objections.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, did she ever complete parenting classes?
In prior cases,
All right, successfully completed it.
yes.
Now, with regards to the January 19th date, where I think you stated she was living with Homer Beltran,
Correct.
was that a safety plan?
No, we only went to see them to follow up with them.
All right, so did you ever call the police to help locate the children?
Not after knowing that they had not been found. We had to go through a procedure in order for us to, get help from law enforcement.
So on January 25th, 2022, was the police ever called
I believe that the police was called to Mr. Beltran's home,
to locate the children?
due to the altercation that they had.
All right, so did CPS have concerns about the children when Miss Mendoza left Mr. Beltran's home with the children?
Yes,
All right. So when the police show up to Mr. Beltran's home, were you present for that or no?
no,
All right. Did you ever reach out to the police after the incident with Mr. Beltran? Okay. All right. Any other, and she was never placed during this time period of 2022. She was never placed in family-based services. All right. Any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The rule has been invoked. What that means, you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense, and they will let you know if they intend to recall you. Is she excused or is anybody anticipating recalling her?
She's excused from the state.
All right, thank you. State, call your next witness.
The state calls Emily Losoya.
All right, if you'll take a seat here, please. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes,
All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up so that attorneys can hear and the court reporter and myself. If you'll state your name for the record.
Emily Losoya.
All right, state.
Good afternoon, Ms. Losoya. How do you know Katrina Mendoza?
She is the mother of my great nieces, ladies and gentlemen.
If you could move the mic a little closer to you, you're like me, you're a little soft spoken. And how are you related to Mercedes and Jordan Losoya?
I am their great aunt. Alfred is my nephew.
And did you know Katrina Mendoza prior to the birth of Jordan and Mercedes?
I believe I met her a few times before.
And was that because she was dating your nephew?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first meet Mercedes Losoya?
Shortly after she was born.
With Katrina, did you ever develop any kind of relationship with Katrina Mendoza?
Yeah,
And did you two have similarities?
a lot. She was young when she started dating my nephew, and I felt that she was just trying to look for comfort or love. And when I was younger, I was like that. Another thing was that she had her kids back to back, and I had two daughters 10 months apart. So those are the similarities that I saw.
Was there ever a point where you became a fixture in Katrina and Mercedes and Jordan's life?
I believe so, yes.
Do you believe so? How often would you see Mercedes and Jordan?
I don't know, like, how to say it. Like, throughout the years, I would just try to be as involved as I could. I would just reach out and see how they were doing. I would either go to wherever she was staying, Katrina was staying, and see them, or they would come over to my house.
Did they ever stay at your house?
Yes,
How often did that happen?
quite often.
Was there ever a time that you specifically offered help to Katrina?
Yes,
When was the first time?
I believe when Mercedes was probably like a year or between a year and 18 months. And they had stayed with me, and I just offered to help. I just saw that it was, stressful and hard for her as a young mom. And so I offered to help her with that.
Did you ever offer to take Mercedes?
Yes.
When did you offer that?
I wouldn't say like to take her. I would just say like I would help her with Mercedes or even Jordan, but whenever I saw she was stressed or she had a lot going on, I would offer that to her.
How did Katrina treat her two daughters?
I never could see like that they were treated the same. I know that she had a closer bond with Jordan than she did Mercedes. She wouldn't like abuse him in front of me. I wouldn't ever see anything like that. I just saw a lot of her pushing Mercedes away, like verbally, like, oh, just go there, or like she would show up to Jordan and not a lot to Mercedes. So those are the differences between them two.
Did you ever question her why she treated them differently?
Yeah, I mean, I would always wonder and voice my opinions, but she would always just say like, oh, I don't do that, or just never give me a direct answer.
Okay. Now fast forward to December of 2021. Did you have a conversation with Katrina about Mercedes then?
Yes.
And how did that conversation come up?
I was at school and I remember she called me and at first I thought it was just a normal conversation until she just started telling me some of the things that she was doing to Mercedes that I couldn't believe that she was admitting to. She kind of like tried to brush it off. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a concern for me. And so the conversation was just her saying that she was tired of Mercedes and that Mercedes would just cry for no reason. She was bad. That she had stayed with her boyfriend, but they called the cops because Mercedes was crying. And I asked her, they're not gonna just call the cops because she's crying, like what's going on? And she was just like, you know how she is. And so I just asked her like, what was going on? And she kind of just said the same thing over and over, that Mercedes would just overreact to little things and that she would cry like if somebody was hurting her.
Did you offer to help in any way at that point?
Yeah. I had sent her a text message and I asked her, I said, you need help with Mercedes for 2 weeks. Because that's what she had mentioned in our conversation, that she just needed 2 weeks away. And so I messaged her and I was like, hey, if you ever need somebody to take Mercedes for 2 weeks, let me know and I'll take her. I don't want nothing from you, no judgment, nothing. I'll just drop her off with me and that's it. And she told me thank you and then never reached out again.
I'll pass the
Defense.
So, again, it's fair to say that you knew at this time, how old was Katrina? She was still a minor, yes?
Yes.
And she had those girls 8 months apart. And you testified earlier that you knew from personal experience how hard raising 2 children is on a young mom. And what you're testifying to is the difficulties that this young mother was having raising the two young girls while she was a young girl herself. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And your testimony is that you wanted to help her.
Correct.
And how old were you at the time?
I don't know, probably 25, 26.
And so she would have been, what, 14 or 15? So but you didn't, your contact was intermittent. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing further, Your Honor.
State.
Just to clarify, do you recall how old Katrina was when Mercedes was born?
I don't know, 14, 15.
So when you're saying a minor, you were talking about when the girls were born.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever offer to take Mercedes?
Yes.
When was the last time?
I'm not sure if it was late November or early December, but somewhere around that time of the year before she passed.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I just have a question.
Yes.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. You stated, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you had a conversation with Ms. Mendoza around December 2021 about Mercedes.
Mhm.
And you said that she was saying she was having some sort of issues with Mercedes.
Yeah.
And one of those, I believe you said that Mercedes would cry if somebody was hurting her.
Mhm.
What did you mean by that? What was the conversation to that?
Because she had said that they weren't able to go back to her boyfriend's house because they were continuously calling the cops on her. And they were just calling the cops on her a lot of times, and so she wanted to not want her there. So I asked her why the cops were being called, and she said that Mercedes was crying like if somebody were hurting her.
Oh, as like someone was hurting her.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that cleared that up for me. Thank
Okay.
you. Any other questions?
No.
Is this witness excused?
Yes, from the state.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone or view anything. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may step down. State, call your next witness. Defense, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. Two briefly, I'll call Homer Beltran.
All right.
And should I go?
They're in the hallway.
They should be.
All right, Marina, could you have Homer Beltran come in, please? Thank you. All right, so is this the Homer Beltran that everybody's been speaking about?
Yes,
All right. Does he need an attorney?
I don't think so.
All right, do you have his number?
Do, Your Honor. He's a little hard of hearing, so maybe he misinterpreted what the court said about the rule. Hopefully he didn't leave.
All right, but my other concern is, and we're off the record, my concern is, does he need an attorney? Because they mentioned, and I read in the doctor's report, there was some incident at his home involving your client.
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Okay.
There was I don't believe so.
Okay,
I don't.
if you want to walk down the hallway, you're more than welcome to do so.
Just a minute, Your Honor, maybe I can locate him.
Sure. All right, and what is happening with the other defendant? That the defense attorney said he was looking at something on Blas? Oh, no, I understand. So on Blas Hernandez, you still talking to him? All right, they're here. All right, and Deputy Laura, just give me 2 minutes. I'm going to check with my mom. All right, defense, your witness is available.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Beltran is in the courtroom, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Beltran, if you'll come forward and take the stand, please.
Judge, he's a little hard of hearing, so we're
Oh.
gonna have to keep our voices so he can hear.
Sure. All right, everyone, no whispering. Good afternoon. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand. Everyone, the tone that I'm using, that's the tone everyone should use so that he'll be able to hear. If somebody asks you something and you don't hear them, just let us know.
Okay.
All right, if you'll state your name for the record,
It's
please.
Homer Beltran.
Defense.
So, Mr. Beltran, that microphone right there, if you'll scoot up so we can all hear you really well, and we'll try to keep our voices up. Can you hear me now?
A little bit higher.
Okay, you're Homer Beltran. How do you know Katrina Mendoza?
She's my goddaughter.
Okay, and did she live with you for a period of time?
Yes, off and on.
And who was there living with you during the period of time that she was living with you? Who else was in the home?
My daughter Angelica Edwards and Rodney Edwards.
And who's that?
Rodney Edwards,
Who's that?
that's my son-in-law.
And was your wife there as well?
Oh, yes,
What's her name?
Margarita Beltran.
And I'm sorry to have to say this, but she did pass away during COVID of the
Yes.
COVID virus.
Yes.
And was there a period of time where Katrina was designated to be living with you with Jordan and Mercedes
Yes,
by CPS?
yes.
Were you aware that she was supposed to be living there?
What was the question here?
Were you aware that that's where she was supposed to be residing per the CPS orders?
I don't remember. I think so.
Okay. And at some point, she left the home where she was living there with you,
Yes,
and she went to live independently by herself.
yes,
So, Mr. Beltran, do you consider Katrina to be your daughter?
yes, I do.
And did you consider Mercedes to be your granddaughter
Yes, I do.
and Jordan to be your granddaughter?
I love them all.
And is that why you took Katrina into your own home?
Yes.
And how do you feel about the tragedy that has happened with the death of Mercedes, and who's your granddaughter, and the fact that Jordan has been essentially removed from Katrina's custody, and she is now in the custody of a great grandmother?
Devastated.
I object to that line of questioning for relevance.
All right, that'll be overruled.
So how do you feel about this?
I'm devastated.
Okay. And the judge has to make a decision today about how to sentence Katrina. And I want to ask you, in your opinion, based on what you saw, did Katrina love Jordan and Mercedes.
Yes, she did. They never lacked. They always had what they needed.
And although she had some CPS investigations going on during the course of the time before she met Jose Ruiz, were you aware of the CPS investigations? Did you ever see Katrina abuse physically either one of the girls?
No,
And how close was she to both of these girls?
what now?
Close, emotionally close was
Oh,
she
very
to?
close.
Did you see inappropriate parenting?
No,
Okay. Were you surprised to hear about the circumstances that resulted in Mercedes' death?
yes, I was.
And were you surprised to hear about the circumstances that occurred when Katrina was living during a 2 to 3 week period of time with Jose Ruiz?
Can you ask me again, please?
Yes. Was Katrina, I'll just ask another question. Did you ever meet Jose Ruiz?
Yes,
And how many times?
I think it was like 2 times.
And what was your impression of him?
For those 2 times, I really didn't meet him for a long time, just maybe 10, 15 minutes. That was about it, but nothing contact, just walk by high.
Okay, so you understand that Katrina has accepted responsibility for not seeking appropriate medical help for Mercedes during the period of time that she was living with Jose Ruiz.
Mhm.
Did that surprise you that she didn't seek medical treatment for Mercedes when you
Yes, it
learned?
does.
And did you see any kind of behavior like that, not seeking appropriate help for Mercedes or Jordan before she started becoming involved with Jose Ruiz?
Well, she was a very private girl. I didn't really see too much of her. I thought the girl's happy or whatever, but I didn't see too much of that.
Okay. But everything you saw led you to believe that she was a good mother to those girls.
Yes,
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, I'll try to speak loud for you, Mr. Beltran. Isn't it true that Katrina favored Jordan?
yeah,
In fact, you told police that on January 25th, 2022, when they went out to the house, didn't you?
what was that again?
In fact, you told police that when Mercedes left with Jose on January 25th of 2022.
Mhm.
Yes. Is your answer yes?
I can,
Do you recall telling police on January 25th, 2022, that Katrina did not like Mercedes, that she
She-
favored
she
Jordan?
favored her.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay. Now, when the police came out on January 25th, 2022, you were upset, correct?
yes,
And you were upset because Jose had taken Mercedes. Is that correct?
been a long time. Yes,
And you had concerns. You expressed concerns for Jose, didn't you?
yes, I did. My spirit told me that she was in danger. I'm a man of God, so I just felt it in my spirit that she was in danger.
Okay. And in fact, didn't you used to tell Katrina to be careful before something bad would happen?
Yes,
I'll pass the witness.
But I want to make sure we're clear about this. You said that Katrina favored, that's not the same as she didn't like Mercedes.
exactly.
So it's not that she didn't like Mercedes, it's that she favored
Yes.
Jordan over Mercedes.
Mhm.
Could you say how that manifested?
I don't know.
What made you feel that way?
It's like, I'm gonna take you to a store and I'm not gonna take her, or little things like that.
Not physically abusive in any way.
I never saw that.
Okay. And when you say that when Jose came and took Mercedes, you had a feeling that something bad was happening.
Yes,
Is that sort of a spiritual intuition that you're describing?
I'm gonna say it's spiritual.
Was it an intuition? What was it based on?
It was just a feeling,
Just a feeling.
of being scared.
And was
Fear.
that about Jose himself?
It was about Mercedes.
You felt like by her being taken by Jose that,
I felt the fear in Mercedes.
and was she acting in a certain way, or you just felt this?
She was crying.
She didn't want to go with Jose.
No, she was crying. She didn't resist not wanting to go with him. She was crying.
Why was she crying?
I have no idea.
So the court has to decide whether to incarcerate Katrina, your daughter, or give her a community supervision. Which would you like the court to do?
I would say a community supervision, because I always told her, you need help, look for the help. It's there for you to get help.
Do you believe that Katrina would accept the help if it was offered to her, albeit a little too late for Mercedes, but would she accept the help now to get the help she needs
I think so.
with her issues?
Yes.
I'll pass a witness.
No further questions.
I have a couple of
Yes,
questions.
ma'am.
All right. If you could address for me, why did you have an issue or concern about Mercedes going with Jose?
Just felt it in my spirit.
And then when Miss Mendoza was staying with you, with the children,
Yeah.
was that based upon Child Protective Services asking for you to have them stay with you?
Remember,
Well, how did she come to live with you? Why was she living with you with her children?
I guess you didn't have a place to stay, or
So were you aware that Child Protective Services was involved in her life?
yes,
All right.
I think we had a meeting with them one time also.
So what is your understanding as to why her and the children were placed with you? Why not somebody else? Why with you?
Well, eventually I was supposed to adopt her,
Adopt who?
Katrina. And so when she was a baby, we had her for about 7 or 8 years. So she was my daughter.
Okay.
So when all this was happening, of course, you want to protect her.
And did you ever call the police or CPS with your concerns about the spiritual intuition you had in regards to Mercedes?
Well, when CPS came over, I told them, I said, y'all need to. You really need to, because I feel it so strong in my spirit that she's in danger.
All right, any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. The rule has been
Thank you.
invoked. You can't discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state or the defense. All right, thank you. You have a blessed day too. Defense, call your next witness.
Rudy Mendoza, Your Honor.
All right, could someone call in the hallway for Rudy Mendoza? All right, could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record.
My name is Rodolfo Mendoza.
All right,
Thank,
defense.
thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mendoza, you're the father of Katrina Mendoza,
Yes, sir.
and Jordan and Mercedes are your two granddaughters.
Yes, sir.
And we know that Mercedes has passed away, and we know that Jordan has been placed in the custody of a great, great, great grandmother. How do you feel about this?
I feel really hurt because I miss her and miss my granddaughters both. I love them both. I took care of them the best that I could, and I really am brokenhearted from all this.
Did you ever meet Jose Ruiz?
No, sir, never did.
And prior to, you remember the period of time when Katrina, about a 2 to 3 week period of time when Katrina went to live with Jose Ruiz?
No, sir.
You don't remember when she went to live with him?
I don't even know the man.
Okay. But you know the period right, the 2 or 3 week period right before Mercedes passed away.
No. Did I know about it?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me just back up. How was Katrina around Mercedes and Jordan as a mother?
To me, she was a loving mother. She took care of kids. She was always with them. She would see them at the zoo and parks and stuff like that. She always had pictures of them, when they're at the park enjoying themselves.
In fact, you showed me your cell phone out in the hallway, and
Yes,
you
sir.
just had picture after picture of Katrina with Jordan and Mercedes. And
Yes, sir.
how did they all three look in those pictures?
Happy.
Is that a fair description of how Katrina was around her two daughters?
Yes, sir.
Were your two granddaughters always happy to be around Katrina?
Yes.
Did you ever know her to physically abuse them?
No, sir.
And did you know about the CPS investigations that were going on?
No, I didn't.
Okay. The judge has to make a decision today about whether to incarcerate Katrina or place her on a form of community supervision. Which would you like the court to do?
Well, I would ask the court to have mercy upon her, compassion, be kind of lenient with her because she was young, yes, and sometimes, you know, young kids do wrong things and stuff like that, but I would, you know, see if the judge and the mercies of the court to find her maybe and defer.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Mendoza, you said sometimes young kids make mistakes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you saying what happened with Mercedes was a mistake?
No, not at all.
This wasn't some young kid that made a mistake, was it?
I understand that.
You understand that Mercedes was abused, that she was tortured, and that your daughter did nothing.
I understand that, but like I said, I had no knowledge of that.
Are you aware that she's said that she reached out to you?
Yes, ma'am.
How did she reach out to you?
She asked me that if I could help her in taking the Mercedes, and I said yes. And from then I never heard from her again.
She never reached back out to you, did she?
No.
You would have come and gotten Mercedes.
Excuse me?
You would have come and gotten Mercedes if you could,
Oh,
right?
of course, Mercedes was Mendoza.
Were you aware that Katrina and others, that others had noticed, and Katrina had even admitted that she had a preference for Jordan over Mercedes?
Yes, it is.
Did you see that as well?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Did you know that Katrina had a psychological exam in this case?
No.
I'll pass the witness.
Defense?
How did this manifest the preference for Jordan over Mercedes? How did that take place?
I think that it would take place in a way that she probably would give more things to Jordan than Mercedes. Like in sharing things, you know, like in candies or sodas and stuff like that.
I see. It didn't rise to the level of abuse.
No.
She just had a natural preference for Jordan over Mercedes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
No further questions.
All right, I have one question.
Yes,
Any
ma'am.
objections?
No objection.
All right, you stated that you offered to take Mercedes. When was this?
I think it was back in, like in January.
Is that January 2022?
Yes.
All right. And did you ever receive any more contact from Miss Mendoza for you to take Mercedes or no?
No, ma'am, not at all. After that, I wanted to because I really wanted to get my granddaughter. Both, just one, both.
All right. Did you inform Miss Mendoza that you would only take both?
Yes.
All right. So according to your testimony, you're saying that you were offered to take Mercedes and
No, ma'am. I would offer to take both of them, not just Mercedes.
okay, that clears that up for me. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may step down. The rule has been invoked.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, the defense rests
And state closes
And rest.
and rest.
and we close.
All right, court will hear a brief argument. State.
Your Honor, I reserve.
All right, defense.
Judge, I don't know if I can be brief, but if the court would grant me a little bit of leeway here.
And sure, and you can remain seated so that the court reporter can hear. I don't take it as a sign of disrespect.
Very good, Your Honor. Judge, the court knows this from many years of experience, as I know the court has served both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, and the court is well aware of the punishment options, the punishment theories that we have in the Texas Penal Code. So the court can obviously punish Ms. Mendoza, or the court could look at a form of rehabilitation for Ms. Mendoza. I'd like to back up to the first time that I met Ms. Mendoza, and I've represented her for a number of years now. And I'd like to say that during the course of the attorney-client relationship with Ms. Mendoza, she has always been open, honest, straightforward, and truthful with me. I have never felt that she was trying to hide anything. I never felt that she was trying to protect herself in any way. She entered a plea, a timely plea, I believe, before the court. She entered a guilty plea. She admitted to causing these serious bodily injuries by omission. She agreed to testify at the Jose Ruiz trial, and she did testify at the Jose Ruiz trial. I think that's significant that she would do that. And it wasn't just to get the plea bargain agreement. I think she felt like it was one way that she could take a step forward and be a better person than the kind of person that she was during the 3-week period of time that she was with this Jose Ruiz. She also spent quite a bit of time with the district attorney's office debriefing her story. I think we spent maybe as much as 8 hours in the district attorney's office talking to Ms. Mendoza about every aspect and detail of this case. The court has before it not only the trial, because Judge, you presided over the trial of Jose Ruiz, and you heard Ms. Mendoza's testimony directly from her. And you have the PSI where Ms. Mendoza has spoken to the probation department. And I'd like to say that during all of these encounters with the different processes here in the judicial system, in my opinion, Katrina Mendoza has been open, honest, and has testified to the best of her ability. And that's including the statements that she made to the probation department, the statements that she made in front of the jury, and most recently, the statements that she made during her clinical evaluation by Joanne Murphy, Dr. Murphy, who did a clinical evaluation and has written a 32-page psychological evaluation, which the court has before it. Concerning that report, I'd like to emphasize 3 aspects of that report. It would take too long to go through it in a lot of detail. But one, Dr. Murphy feels that Katrina, just like I feel, has been open and honest in her clinical evaluation. Dr. Murphy felt like Katrina was honest to a fault, to the extent that she had to admit things about herself that people don't like to say about themselves. And Katrina was open enough and brave enough to be able to throw her own self under the bus, so to speak. The second thing that I'd like to emphasize about this report, and it was also something that Dr. Murphy emphasized, is, and I don't mean this out of any disrespect at all, but intellectually, Katrina is what Dr. Murphy describes as well below average intelligence. And we've seen people, Your Honor, in the court system for a long time where people with well below average intelligence levels are able to function in the world pretty well. And they get along as best they can with the limitations that they have. But I think it is significant that Dr. Murphy has found that Katrina's, intelligence level is well below average, and specifically in her words, and that's a result of a clinical evaluation. And the reason that's significant is because Katrina was, in a 3-week period of time, found herself in a very, God willing, none of us have to be in a situation like that, Your Honor. And in a way, she would have had to figure out a way to think herself out of the trap that she found herself in. And we're not offering below average intelligence as any kind of defense, but we'd like the court to consider that in deciding what the appropriate outcome would be. And on top of that, Your Honor, Dr. Murphy felt like that Katrina did not know that these injuries at the time they were being inflicted, all the way up until the very end when Mercedes stopped breathing, that her life was in danger. Now, ordinarily, Your Honor, given the horrible nature of what we've heard at the jury trial and what we can see from the investigation, I guess the common sense would be that you would think that these injuries would rise to the level of causing death. But if you look at the autopsy, and if you remember the testimony of the medical examiner there was a big question about the cause of death for quite a long period of time. And so Dr. Murphy felt like that at no time did Katrina feel like the injuries that she did see inflicted and that she omitted to seek help for rose to the level of endangering her life. And so Dr. Murphy found that to be significant, another significant factor in evaluating Katrina. One, the fact that she was truthful. Two, the below average intelligence. And three, that she didn't realize that these injuries were life-threatening. I would like to emphasize also something that didn't show up in the jury trial too much. It might have shown up in the in pretrial hearings, and I know it shows up in the prosecution guide. But Jose Ruiz had guns in that house, and there were guns all over the house. And there are specific instances where he took the girls and Katrina into a closet when the police were knocking on the door and held them at gunpoint and said, "You're going to be quiet. You're not going to answer that door." So there was not only the psychological abuse and the physical abuse. Obviously, Mercedes was being physically abused, but psychologically, Katrina was being abused by the physical abuse that Jose was inflicting on Mercedes. And this has risen to a level, Your Honor, where Dr. Murphy has diagnosed Katrina with 2 serious mental illnesses, 1, major depression, and 2, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And I think both of these mental illnesses, and you can see from the case history, way back in time, Your Honor, to a point in time where the reports reflect that Katrina was at one point after her mother and father separated, she was living with her mother, and she was abused not only by her mother physically, but she was also abused sexually by the stepfather. And she reported this to her mother, and her mother just swept it under the rug and didn't seek an investigation, and in fact talked her out of reporting it. Later on, Katrina reported to a counselor at the school, and the authorities got involved. And again, her mother sat down with her and told her, "Don't do this." And so the investigation languished. You can also see in the report, Your Honor, and we're not trying to normalize anything at all that Jose Ruiz did, but Katrina witnessed behaviors sort of like some of the ways that Jose Ruiz was disciplining Mercedes, kneeling on rice, for example. That's something that Katrina saw when she was living with her mother. Also holding up objects. That's something that Katrina saw as a young girl in her mother's. We also know, Your Honor, and the court may not be aware of this, but her mother was investigated for the death of one of Katrina's stepbrothers, and he was abused to such an extent that he eventually passed away, and an investigation was conducted, and for some reason it never made it to an indictment. But that is part of the background where Katrina was raised like this in abusive situations. She never got any help for it. She never got any counseling for it. And so for her to be able to say these things about her life and to be open and honest, I think shows her honesty with the court. She also had these children very young, Your Honor, and in that report, the clinical evaluation, says that she never knew that she wasn't supposed to be having sex at this young age. And she had those 2 children very young. They were only 8 months apart. She was a minor most of the time when these CPS investigations were going on. And I think it's remarkable that the state has actually sponsored a CPS worker who says that the reports reflect that the children were happy and bonded. And there were some incidences, but it had to do with reports that were eventually ruled out. And I think the court remembers from the jury trial the hand mark episode that happened in the daycare center, and that was eventually ruled out, and the CPS investigation was closed. So, Judge, you know, I was raised in a family where none of this was normalized at all. And I can't imagine growing up in circumstances like this. And Judge, this is not an excuse for Katrina at all. We're not offering this as an excuse. She has told the court that she feels responsible. She told the jury that. She had the courage to come in here. And I know she was nervous. You could see her leg moving up and down pretty much the whole time. But she did her best to debrief with the state. She did her best to testify in front of that jury. She did her best to talk to Dr. Murphy. And ultimately, Dr. Murphy concludes this. She says, this young woman needs some help. She needs psychological help. She is open and willing to accept that help, and incarceration is not going to address the psychological needs that she has. And if you look at the scales in terms of her risk of reoffending or doing anything like this ever again in her life, she's at the very low end of all the evaluation scales. So there's no scales there in terms of the testing that Dr. Murphy did that indicate that she's a high risk in any areas where the court should be concerned if she's placed on community supervision. I think she's an appropriate candidate for community supervision. And Dr. Murphy thinks that she would be a good candidate for community supervision. We would ask the court to place her on the community supervision and place her in the mental health caseload so that she gets counseling, so that she gets any kind of medication that she needs. There's some statements in there in the PSI that I wanted to address where Katrina is still verbalizing her love for Jordan and expecting that she could go and be an appropriate parent. I've counseled her about that, and she understands that because her parental rights have been terminated, if the court were to grant a community supervision or if she has to go to prison, then she's not going to be permitted to have any contact at all with Jordan, unfortunately. And she understands that. She didn't understand it at the time of the PSI. But again, in the PSI, she has again stated that she knows this is her fault. And if you look at Dr. Murphy's evaluation, Dr. Murphy says that she feels so bad about what happened and how she knows that she is indirectly and even directly responsible for Mercedes passing away and for the fact that Jordan has been removed from her custody, that she heaps this on herself. And she feels like God has abandoned her. She feels depressed. She feels sorry and regretful. And I don't know any other way to say it other than the way she said it in front of that jury of 12 people when she testified. And I can't say words in the PSI, and I can't say it any better than her words in Dr. Murphy's. I didn't plan to call her as a witness because I think she has already testified before the court. I think she's given you her heart in the clinical evaluation. And I think she, although she didn't discuss details in the PSI, she was frank and open and honest with the PSI people about her own responsibility for what happened. And I'll tell you, Judge, I can't think of anything worse than a mother losing her children. She has to have a broken heart, and I know she does. Her heart's broken. And there's no punishment the court could do to her, even 45 years in prison, that's going to undo that broken heart. But I'd like the court to see her as a young woman who, and I wish you could have seen those pictures of her and the two girls on Mr. Mendoza's phone, because if you saw those pictures, those girls were happy. And Katrina, and if you know Katrina, Katrina would never have abused those children. I think what happened is that she got into this situation with Jose Ruiz, and Jose Ruiz created such a little room of horrors that she psychologically and mentally was incapable. And she should have been, and she knows that she's responsible for not. She had every opportunity. She could have, and the court knows this, she could have called CPS. She could have called the San Antonio Police Department. She even talked to her father on the telephone during this period of time. So she did have options, but let me tell you, she was suffering from PTSD. She was suffering from depression. and she was suffering from the psychological abuse of what he was doing to her daughters. And she should have stopped it, and she knows that. But if you saw the body cam of how she was at the hospital when they told her that Mercedes had passed away, and that Jose was calling her on the phone saying, "I want my phone, bring me that phone," you would see a young woman who was in the middle of a PTSD episode. It was heartbreaking to see that, and to see her on the body cam, that suffering from the knowledge that her child had passed away, and trying to fathom what had just happened. And you could see her in this PTSD type mode, almost a bipolar type mode, just not being able to comprehend, not being able to understand why Jose was doing this, and trying to comprehend the fact that she had lost her daughter. So my plea to the court would be to grant her the deferred adjudication. I understand that's a hard decision for the court, given the evidence in this case, but I do think it would be the right thing to do for her. And if the court feels that rather than rehabilitation, the appropriate thing for Katrina is to punish her, we would ask the court not to punish her like Jose Mendoza, but for the court to take into consideration the things that the court has before it in the PSI and Dr. Murphy's report, and find an appropriate sentence in the lower end of the range the court has available to it. Thank you for your time and patience, Your Honor.
Okay, I have 4 questions, counsel. Maybe you can answer them. And it's concerning Dr. Murphy's report. So on page 4, it states that Ms. Mendoza said she's an imperfect parent, but she used timeouts to discipline her children. But the testimony I heard during the trial that she was using more than timeouts. So if you can address that. And then on page 7, she said the girls were not registered in school because the girls would cry and she did not like seeing them hurt. So she would keep them with her because they would cry when they would go to school. And then the other one is on page 8, the first incomplete paragraph, where it says Katrina told her dad that she did not want him to see Mercedes like this because he would call the cops on her. Her dad asked her to tell him where she was so he could go help her. She got scared and did not tell him where she was. And then the other issue is, from what I'm reading in Dr. Murphy's report and the testimony from your client on the witness stand, is that she sent Mercedes to be disciplined by Jose. And the first time she sent her to be disciplined, she came back and she had bruising between the inner thigh. And that was my understanding before they were even living together. So those are the issues that the court needs addressed, if you can. If not, I understand.
That first point, Judge, what was your first point?
On page 4, the first incomplete paragraph, where it says she considers herself to be an imperfect parent. She used timeouts to discipline her children. But there was testimony. I'm trying to figure out, where did this come in our conversation, perhaps with Dr. Murphy? Because in her testimony, she admitted to pulling Mercedes' hair.
Right, Judge, I think my global answer to all 4 of the court's concerns is that, and I've listened to the debriefs, I've had the attorney-client relationship with Katrina, and I also sat through her testimony at trial, and I have the benefit now of reading her clinical evaluation. And I would say this, that you can find inconsistencies. And I think that's what the court is addressing.
No, I'm just trying to understand where your client's mindset was in this, because I'm trying to understand. She stated in one of the pages that she wouldn't let her children go to school because they would cry because they wanted to be with her.
Right.
And she didn't like to see her children in pain, so she kept them with her. But then we have the incident involving Mercedes, where Mercedes is in pain. So I'm trying to understand this statement in Dr. Murphy's report. And if there is no explanation, that's fine.
Right. I don't know that there is an explanation, Your Honor. I think she's just doing her best to try to answer the questions that are posed to her at the time that she gives the answer. As far as being an imperfect parent, and she would have the children do timeouts. I think she feels like that she wasn't a very good parent in the sense that she had parenting skills. She was a minor herself.
Oh, no, I'm just focusing on, according to Dr. Murphy's reports, is she saying to Dr. Murphy that she only used timeouts as a form of
Oh, I don't think so. I think this is in a broader context that typically her parenting skills would be just to have them in timeout. That's my understanding of that part.
All right,
And
because I don't expect anyone to be a perfect parent.
right. And as far as not having them in school because the girls would cry, I have heard her talk about that in debriefing. And so this is again reflective of the debriefing and also reflective of what she's saying in Dr. Murphy's report. I think she didn't like seeing the girls cry. And so when time came to send them to school, she'd rather keep them with her rather than send them off to school. And that's probably another example of imperfect parenting, where you're loving your kids more than is good for them. That's how I would interpret that.
All right, so I'm trying to translate that to, we're here because Mercedes was injured and she didn't seek medical treatment. I'm assuming, and if I'm correct, people can correct me, I'm assuming that when Mercedes was being treated improperly, for want of a better word, she was crying, she was in pain. I'm trying to see how that translates to, I didn't send them to school because the girls were crying and I don't like to see them hurt, but here we are with a child that's been hurt. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Right, and I can't understand that either, Your Honor. And I think what I offered the court as an explanation for this is that she had these children very young and she was abused herself. And she was imperfect until she met Jose, and then she became a completely different person.
Okay.
I think she was trapped by Jose. I think he was abusing Katrina psychologically by abusing Mercedes and Jordan. They were both traumatized. You can see in the PSI that Jordan is herself traumatized. So the mother has to be traumatized by watching this. She develops major mental illnesses as a result of what happened, and she's well below average intelligence. And so she just made the wrong choices, Judge. And she's accepted the responsibility that her wrong choices resulted in the death of their child and the removal of the other one. I think she's being so honest with the court that it's brutally honest, is really what it is. And as far as, yes, her dad, she had an opportunity, and I argued that a few minutes ago. She could have easily told her father, come over here and get Mercedes, come over here and get Jordan. And she tells Dr. Murphy that the reason she didn't do that is because she was afraid of losing them to CPS because they would have seen these injuries. We wanted to emphasize to the court that Dr. Murphy felt like that although there was physical injury, at no time did Katrina believe in her mind that these injuries rose to the level of a risk of death.
All right. And I'll let defense know, I'm focusing on what she pled to in the indictment, not the anything else.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, state.
Your Honor. Now, this case was horrendous. The abuse to Mercedes, the video of Mercedes and the trial. And while Jose, we went forward because he was the one who did the thumbtacks, who did the most sadistic stuff. Katrina was there. She saw it. She knew about it. She invited the abuse by asking Jose, giving Mercedes to Jose. She left what was, by all accounts, a full house, a family who loved these girls, and took them to Jose, knowing that abuse was going on. And if you recall in the trial, Your Honor, there were neighbors calling 911 in November, in December. Jose and probably Katrina had already begun abusing Mercedes in those months, but yet she still went back to the Beltrons and she chose to take her children back to Jose. She knew what he did. She chose. She didn't want the supervision of CPS. She didn't want the supervision of Homer. She wanted to deal with the children the way she wanted to, the way Jose wanted her to. And we know during this whole period, this final month, 2, 3 months of Mercedes' life, there was an air of suspicion of abuse by Katrina. CPS was involved. They said they were getting numerous calls. Neighbors were calling 911. Katrina was calling Emily saying she couldn't handle Mercedes. She wanted to get rid of her, leading into what we learned was a horrific 2-week period where Mercedes was quite literally beaten to death. And we're sitting here talking about whether she should get some form of community supervision. No, she's already taken classes. She's already been subject to supervision. She blatantly was avoiding CPS. She wouldn't work under the supervision of a court. And there was all this discussion about the girls being in school or not in school. She had them out of school to avoid CPS, Your Honor. Everything points to that. It wasn't because for the girls' own good, it was for her own desire to avoid CPS. Another shocking thing is how open Katrina was on the stand about her favoritism towards Jordan and how blatantly obvious it was to everyone who knew them. Homer told you she was a private mom, but yet it was still obvious that she favored Jordan. She shunned Mercedes and she gave Jordan the attention. If she's a private person and she does that in front of everybody else, what does she do behind the scenes? She lets a man like Jose Ruiz abuse Mercedes. One thing she says in this evaluation is that if she had just had help, this wouldn't have happened. We've showed you that she lied to police when police would come trying to help, that she ignored her father who was going to come help, that she did not take Emily Lasoya's offer just a few weeks before the death of Mercedes to help. Notably, one thing that Mr. Beltran said today is that he had a bad feeling when Jose was taking Mercedes. He had a bad feeling. I'll submit to you, it's because he knows that Katrina was not going to protect Mercedes. And he saw that fear in Mercedes' eyes. And he knew that fear from Mercedes and the lack of concern that Katrina had for Mercedes, something bad was going to happen. And he expressed that, and it did. And Mercedes was abused horrifically. And not only that, but there was a day and a half where Mercedes was taken out of it. But we know from the medical examiner's testimony, she was dying and Katrina still did nothing. And if Katrina had taken one of those family members up on their offer for help, if she had gone to the doctor once during this time, Mercedes would probably be alive. And Your Honor, the plea bargain in this case was a cap of 45. And that itself works in the fact that she was open about what had happened. There's mercy worked into that bargain. 45 years wouldn't even cover the life of Mercedes if she was still alive today. Not to mention the pain that this has caused to Jordan and probably will for the rest of her life. 45 years is what this case needs, Your Honor, and that's what we're asking for.
Could I say one thing? It's not to comment on theirs. It's one
Sure.
thing I left out. So, and I think it goes to the court's 4 questions. How can we explain what happened? I don't think we can. But what happened is, we know this, that the first opportunity Katrina had to get out of there, she got out of there. Jose always had Jordan with her, or she was never left alone with both of those until she took that opportunity when Jose decided to move. He decided to move and he left them alone. And that Katrina took that opportunity, called the girlfriend and said, "Get me out of here." But it was too late. Those were the 2 days when Jose was moving.
All right, how did he end up at the hospital then? Who called him?
So what happened is, that's when it started looking like she was going to need some serious medical attention. And Katrina called Jose and said, "Get over here, we got to get her to the hospital." And that's how Jose ended up back at that residence. And they took her to the hospital at that point. But Katrina was already in conversations with that woman to help me get out of here. So she took the first chance that she got. She didn't have a cell phone. which is not an excuse.
But are you saying, let me just ask you, my understanding from the testimony is that the children left the apartment, they go to this friend's house. Then from there, the children are taken to the hospital or EMS. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then,
Jose decided to move out of the apartment where all this abuse
I
happened.
know, I mean, so I'm just following this testimony. So she leaves the apartment with the children to be with this friend.
Yes,
She takes the children, well, Mercedes, to the hospital.
yes.
And then she picks up the phone and calls Jose.
No, I don't think so. So
So
what
how did
happened
he
is
know they were at the hospital?
So Jose and Katrina took Mercedes to the hospital from that apartment.
Okay.
And so that was the testimony, I think, and that's in the police reports. When Katrina realized that she's not breathing correctly and her legs are getting cold, get over here, we got to get her to the hospital. And that's reflected in the clinical statement that she gave
Who
to
was she telling to get over here? We've got to get her to the hospital.
Jose.
All right. So this is back to my question. Where was Jose that she had to tell him get over here?
Well, so he was in that same apartment complex. He was moving into a different apartment in that apartment complex where that friend of Katrina's apartment was.
So the reason why I ask these questions is because I'm trying to follow your argument is the fact that she got away from Jose with this friend. Maybe it's in the same apartment complex.
Right.
I don't understand then the phone call to Jose to say, get over here, we got to get her to the hospital.
I understand.
So that's why I was asking the
Yes,
question.
ma'am. And I understand that. And there's so many poor choices. And that is one of them because she had managed to get away from him. And you're wondering why she would call him to take us to the hospital. But she did.
Okay.
And that's how he got over there.
All right. This is what the court is going to do. Court is going to find you guilty. And I want to let you know that I read all of the reports. I read the PSI. I listened to your testimony. I always see people as people. I don't see people as criminals. I look at people as people. And then I try to make the best decision with the information I have. That's the reason why I was asking your counsel certain questions, because I want it to be cleared up in my mind so I can make a decision that I deem would be appropriate. So I'm going to find you guilty. There's an affirmative finding of family violence. I give you credit for any time served. There's to be no contact with minors, and I'm going to sentence you to 45 years in the prison. Did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it and did you sign it? All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you need to speak to an attorney. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. Here's the thing. Your counsel will probably tell you, I've done child protective services cases before, and I understand that sometimes children are brought into horrible situations. Sometimes children don't have good parents. Sometimes the parents are not only just imperfect, they're not good parents. And I read Dr. Murphy's report on you, and I saw that there was CPS involved in your life when you were a child. There was CPS involvement when you were having children as a child. So I want to let you know I understand all that. But at the end of the day, when you think about Mercedes, nobody ever will know what she was going to do with her life. Who knows? Maybe that was the person who was going to find the cure of cancer. We'll never know because she is no longer here. Or maybe she was going to find the cure for something else, or maybe do great things. You just never know with children. And it's a shame that in this case, there are faults, right? You have CPS. Maybe they could have done more. You have family members, maybe they could have done more. You have police, maybe they could have done more. You had neighbors, they did their job, they picked up the phone and they called the police. I don't know why it is, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. Sometimes if somebody's walking down the street and they're abusing a dog or not treating a dog properly, you know what people do? Ooh, let me report this. Let me pick up this phone and call somebody. But when it's concerning children, what ends up happening is people say, well, that's really not my business. I don't want to be involved. And what if I'm wrong? And I would always tell people, but yeah, what if you're right? If you're wrong, you apologize. I can tell you right now the number of times there are stray dogs running around. And do you know how quickly somebody will call animal shelter or somebody about that dog? Or either you can be on Facebook and you know what people will do? A dog is lost. Everybody is acting one dog lost, put it on high alert. They're on the lost and found sites, every single site for an animal. And I like animals, but the same level of love that we have for animals in Bexar County and in other states is not the same love that we show to children who are in need. So I understand that people didn't show you love and what you needed when you were a child in CPS care. I don't know the answer for that, and I don't know what else we can do about it. I'm just here to hear cases, listen to everybody, and hopefully make good decisions. All right?
Yes, ma'am. We do have victim impact.
One.
One.
All right. Ms. Mendoza, victim impact, they're just going to speak to you. I require that everybody treats everybody like a human being and with respect. So if you'll just listen, and they will be respectful. You may proceed.
Katrina, I am that great grandma. And I want you to know that Jordan was being very. They have asked me to write something about how it affected the family, but I decided not to do that. I have decided to write what I have heard Jordan tell me during the time he was with me, how it has impacted her. These are the things that she has shared with me. She has shared with me. I wonder why my mom allowed this to happen to my sister. Grandma, I cannot sleep at night because I see my sister being hurt. Nothing's in that word but being hurt, being hit. Grandma, I don't understand why we didn't leave Hosanna. I am so afraid that my mom will come one day and take me back to Jose's house. Grandma, I love my mommy, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid that one day she will come and something might happen to me. Grandma, please, Grandma, don't let them take me away. I want to stay with you. Grandma, I do love my mommy, and I do pray for her, and she does. Grandma, I have been told in school, I have been told by every child, is your mama a killer? She killed my cousin, so I hope God has mercy upon your life.
All right, and deputies, could you bring out Blas Hernandez? And probation, there's no application. If you could stay there, maybe some issues back there. And on this case, are you all proceeding on the enhancements or no? Okay, I see it. Yes. All right, court is calling 2000.
As this hearing came to a close, the judge's final words made it clear that this case was about far more than determining a sentence. The courtroom focused on accountability, the value of every child's life, and the lasting impact that violence leaves on surviving family members. The emotional victim impact statement, combined with the judge's reflections on responsibility and the importance of protecting children, became some of the most powerful moments of the hearing. It was a reminder that sentencing hearings are not only about punishment. They also give victims and families a chance to be heard before the court reaches its final decision. Cases like this help us better understand how judges weigh evidence, victim impact, personal history, and the law when imposing lengthy prison sentences in the most serious criminal cases. Subscribe to follow this case and stay updated on whether Katrina Rose Mendoza files an appeal or if any future post-conviction hearings or legal developments affect the outcome of this case.